I was watching your Twitter after I invited you on the show, and I followed you and saw a gentleman by the name of Jack Turban or Turden. I don't know, I'm not sure. I think he was a child psychologist from memory, and he came hard after your book, and you refuted each sort of attack that he made as he read through it, and he publicized it on Twitter. But I get it. I get that if you learn your entire life and you learn through college and you learn all these years that this is 2 + 2 is 4, and then all of a sudden you come along and say no, that's incorrect, or this is not what we think it is. I get how people freak out. Like Men's Health, after you went on Joe Rogan's podcast, they said take the recent episode during Shrier's conversation with Rogan, in which she promoted her book, Irreversible Damage, which is also in the link below, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. Go and check it out. The Transgender Craze Seducing Our Daughters, Shrier. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I very much apologize if I'm not. It's very early in the morning here. Invalidated the lived experience of trans and non-binary kids and teens. So straight away with this article, they're going to play like, you're the boogeyman. You're coming after kids. You're coming after kids who are damaged. Like you're a bad person, and made numerous dangerous, entirely unsound, false equivalencies. So I guess what they're saying is what you say in your book is so bad, is so unfound. Is it? Or do you just, are you able to back it up with peer-reviewed research? Are you able to back it up with anything?
Well, the book's full of research, but it's a very silly claim. I mean, how could I possibly invalidate the lived experience of anyone?
Sure.
I don't,
Yeah.
right? But I did present evidence, and I presented a lot of research, and I talked to a lot of experts about what's really going on. That doesn't invalidate anyone's, look, one legitimate response to me, if you want to criticize me, is to say, okay, that's what you found, but my experience was different. And I would say, okay, maybe it is. I haven't interviewed you yet.
Sure.
But they're saying I'm not allowed to have the conversation of whether some of these girls are being pushed to transition who do not have genuine gender dysphoria. We can't talk about that because it makes me feel bad. They're a bunch of biological men. That's who these activists typically are. And they say it makes them feel bad if we talk about a mental health illness, a mental health problem facing teenage girls. That's not only absurd, it's really wrong. I mean, that the idea that they should be able to shut down conversation about what's going on with these girls and even inquiry into it is really a very presumptuous position to take.
And the one of the things that sort of, it's always shocking to me, and this may be a massive generalization, and this is completely off topic, but most of the people who go after you for your book, or me for my videos, or Jordan Peterson for rejecting the Canadian bill, is straight white dudes who just don't seem to find something that they can grab onto in life, something that they genuinely are quite weak-minded individuals, and that's sort of, this is their thing. Their activism is their outlet into the world, or a reason for people to give value to their life or value to their own life. Activism is their way of doing it. It's so, like, if I make a joke on stage, if it is considered a racist joke, the people who the joke is about, that particular race, aren't the ones who are offended. It's always white dudes. That's what it always is. It's just white dudes who are angry at, like, a section of white dudes, if you know what I mean. I know I'm sort of waffling once again, but what I'm trying to say is it seems like the people who are coming after you, or anyone who disagrees with this, is the exact same type of person. A young 25-year-old white dude who doesn't seem to find something to gravitate towards within his life other than activism.
Right. And so in my case, they aren't all straight, and they aren't all cisgender. They are white men by and large. And some of the people who have come after me are people who have invested their professional lives in promoting affirmation, meaning, agreeing with a minor child's self-diagnosis and ushering in a course of treatment that involves, double mastectomy and hormones. So they have very good reason to be upset. I think if they're, they have reason to be upset if they're activists, because they're pushing an agenda. My problem is that they shouldn't have an agenda at all. In fact, if I think the reaction to my book ought to be by these activist doctors and activist therapists, it really should be, wow, I should look at this. Let me make sure that none of my patients who I see falls into this category, because I wouldn't want to push someone toward this treatment who doesn't really belong in this category. So let me just make sure. I don't think this applies to my patients, but but let me just check and make sure. Instead, they will say, your publisher should drop you. They will call me names. They will try to whip up a mob against me. They will harass me in every way they can. That's not actually how doctors and scientists typically are supposed to behave. They seem much more interested in shutting me up and shutting me down than they do seem to be about double checking on the mental welfare of their own patients.
Yeah. There has to be a possibility that they're incorrect or you're incorrect. And that conversation is so important. Like, I am shocked by how many people refuse to allow their beliefs to slightly differ, as they age. Like, if you're not changing the way you feel about subjects as you get older or as you learn more, like, are you learning more? Are you becoming more intelligent? Or are you just sort of just sinking into this mud that is your beliefs, your circle of friends, your the people you follow on Facebook? Like, you're just stuck in the mud in that sort of situation where, okay, if I sort of get out of this idea or these ideologies, then I will be cast away from the group. I will be sent away. I will never be spoken to again, because as I'm sure you know, if you make one stride away from the company line or the party line, you will be sent to the bush to just perish.
Right. I think they are afraid of being cut out of the group. They do get excommunicated by other, trans activists if they don't go along with, everything. But there's something else too. If these girls are in genuine pain, and they are, and if some of the activists note that I'm saying that a lot of these girls who are in pain are inaccurately diagnosing, being inaccurately diagnosed or inaccurately diagnosing themselves, then I guess it scares them to think, what if they're inaccurately diagnosed? Maybe they have a different mental health issue that's not being addressed. And I don't think that's a reason to tell me not to have the conversation, but I guess they find it threatening that they don't already have the answer to all their problems, because they insist the answer to all their problems is medical transition.